dear friends, welcome to Elena's Bar, Low Impact Full Body Workouts. I'm today with Melody, and we are talking about contemporary women versus traditional women. Very controversial topic. I hope that more people will join us for this interesting discussion. I apologize for starting a little late. We had to fix some information in the biology section there because Melody has a degree in biology, so she was trying to correct some things out there so that we come out to be accurate. Good. So let's dive in. Let's dive in, guys. Let us know what you think about the topic. We are going to start with a small presentation, and we are going to ask you, who do you think had a more important mission and who brought more value to the society? Contemporary women or traditional women? Yeah. And the questions of today's discussion, as I've mentioned before, who had more responsibilities, more duties, who brought more objective value to the society, how did the technological advancements make our life easier but also crazier at the same time. We are going to talk about the Industrial Revolution here for a little bit. And then what were women's duties back then and what are women's duties today? How can we improve the situation? Is there any way how we can help and improve the situation? And what can women do to help the society? Okay, let's proceed. So first of all, I'm going to give a word to Melody here because she knows more about biology than I do. And we are going to talk about the main differences between men and women. And Melody, if you would like to say a few words about that here.
Sure. Yeah, we can just kind of real briefly go over this. It is a very complicated topic. It's not complicated in the sense that it's abstract or relative, though. There's a standard, XX, XY, male, female. But sex is ultimately determined by, the presence and levels of certain hormones during embryonic development. There's also some weird things that can go on during embryonic development. You can have, fertilized ovum, that's genetically male, and a fertilized ovum that's genetically female. If they're too close together, they can merge. And, some of that cells are going to be XX, and some of the cells in that human are going to be XY. And usually there is, some ambiguity there, from the time of birth. Again, this is not common. Some things that are quite common is aneuploid disorders. So where, a female has 3 X chromosomes or male has 2 X's and a Y or 3 X's and a Y. And this typically occurs, it's definitely increased rates as the parents get older. It's because when the genes separate, sometimes like they'll just stick together more. So like 2 will go on to like 1 cell, the divided cells that you get from the original, or like 0 will go to another. But they're so common because it's really, you can't tell for the most part. There might be some slight differences. Typically, when you have an extra X chromosome, estrogen is actually the hormone responsible for height. The reason why men grow taller is because during puberty, they get so much testosterone. There's an enzyme called aromatase, which converts the excess into estrogen. And that's what actually causes the growth spurt at puberty. Typically, there will be some differences, but as far as the genitals, testicles might be a little smaller in a guy who has 2 extra X chromosomes, but unless there's, like embryonic testing, or, I guess not embryonic, but I don't even think they do amniocentesis anymore, but basically like some sort of genetic testing done, before the baby's delivered. People with these sort of aneuploid disorders don't even find out until maybe they have trouble, conceiving children once they're older. But a lot of them just have kids perfectly fine. That's one, just because the genetics may not, be what we considered standard, like doesn't make someone intersex. These people typically have, maybe some differences, but they're clearly male or female for the most part. Now, of course, you can have an aneuploid disorder and an enzyme deficiency. Basically, all of our hormones start from the cholesterol that our body produces. They're converted through a series of different enzymes to produce, aldosterone and estrogens, progesterones, testosterones. So any defect in any one of those enzymes can, basically like cut off one pathway so that way too much goes toward another pathway where it's, typically wouldn't be considered like normal or appropriate for that person's like chromosomal makeup, I guess. And so, yeah, there's things like congenital adrenal hyperplasia is, again, it's not super common, but it's not super rare. Like if you take any college class on like, basic, I mean, even my clinical chemistry class that I took last year, they, went over all these things because they're going to come up if you work in a lab. But again, it's always something that can be traced back to the genes themselves, not necessarily the chromosomes. There's also the sex determining region Y protein, which is on the X, but it can be translocated during cell division. It can cross over onto go from the Y to the X. And so then that Y chromosome, every cell in that person is going to be XY. But because that specific gene has been deleted or, translocated, they're going to have a uterus and fallopian tubes, and they're going to be sterile. But, they're going to present as females. But again, this is not something like, oh, I feel this way, so I must be. No, it's definitely, you can go to a lab and find exactly why, the development took, a detour. And, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with, being born different. But yeah, for the most part, people are born with XX and they, develop into female, or they're born with XY and they develop into male. So yeah, and yeah, it's usually linked to the, the sex chromosomes, which are the X and Y ones. They're, kind of the special ones that people think of. But again, because enzymes have such a huge impact in, the different sterols being converted into different hormones, it's those, mutations in the autosomal chromosomes can lead to someone with, XX developing, male appearing genitalia, or someone with XY developing a uterus. There's also really interesting one that I remember learning about. I took like a biology of sex and gender class, it's like years ago when I was working on my undergrad, but it's called huevadoches, which I guess, I don't know, Elena speaks some Spanish, but I guess it means testicles at 12. And so, which I don't know, I just think that's a great term. And it's actually very common in certain areas. Worldwide, it's very rare, but we find really isolated island populations where at some point in history there's been, a bottleneck in reproduction and the gene pool has gotten super small. Because it's autosomal recessive, it's a mutation in, it's like 5-alpha reductase, which is a enzyme that reduces testosterone to dihydrotestosterone. So without enough dihydrotestosterone present during embryonic development, there's kind of the baseline is to develop into a female. And so if you don't have enough of that present, even if you have XY, you're going to develop as a female, like while you're in the womb. But then what happens is they hit puberty and they get this surge of testosterone, and all of a sudden they get balls and a penis,
Oh my gosh.
Testicles at 12. And so, yeah, I mean, they start out, they look female, they, are just kind of regarded as females. And then all of a sudden they hit puberty and it's like, oh, okay, you're a little boy, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said,
So
there are
again, what causes this delay? Can you kind of simplify and
well, yeah, and
in
that's what,
determining the gender?
so it's basically, yeah, it's a you don't have the gene that that produces this 5 alpha reductase, which turns testosterone into dihydrotestosterone. So during embryonic development, there's not enough dihydrotestosterone
Okay, I
to
get it.
cause like male genital development.
Oh, I
Um,
see.
but
Okay.
then, yeah, once you hit puberty,
Uh-huh.
you get that testosterone surge, and so then you develop all the secondary sexual characteristics. So facial hair, deeper voice, all the things that happen at puberty for a boy, they still happen. It's just that you didn't get that, kind of bump towards male development earlier on. You just kind
Wow.
of went on the baseline, develop into a female path, and then
And
there's,
how common is it, Melody, that humans? Uh,
I mean, like I said, worldwide, it's not, because it's autosomal recessive, and it's, unless you live in a place where historically there's been like a bottleneck in the gene pool, yeah, it's very unlikely that you're gonna, have a chromosome that's like missing the gene for that enzyme, and then you're gonna like, reproduce with someone who's also missing that gene. But if you're one of those bottlenecks, I know there's like some cities in the Dominican Republic where it's, it's like 1 in 100 kids. It's not
okay,
an
it's not
uncommon thing in
common.
certain areas.
See,
But yeah,
guys.
like I said, worldwide it is really only found in, I think Papua New Guinea is another place where it happens. But yeah, it's kind of isolated to like very specific populations where there's just an abundance of like, these autosomal gene mutations, and so you're just far more likely to have a child with someone else who's missing that gene on one of the alleles.
Wow. So
So
we have these enzymes. We have the estrogen and testosterone hormones and the sex chromosomes that affect our gender determination, our sex determination, right?
yeah, I mean, they're all working together, and like I said, I mean, it's not as simple as like XX and XY. You have a lot
Mhm.
of variations and a lot of expressions, but yeah, you can, at this point, you can go in and you can test if something isn't, quite developing right, or like I said, you've got XY, but you have a uterus. I mean, you can go in and you can find like, okay, here the SRY, protein has been translocated. So yeah, it's really not ambiguous or, like mysterious. It's just that it's very complex, but it's always testable. So
Wow. It's not something that you come up with. Oh, I used to be a woman, now I choose to be a man.
well,
Or
yeah, and
I
that's
was
the
a
thing.
man,
Like,
now I want to become a woman. We are going to touch up on the transgender stuff. I think it's nuts. It's crazy. It's not healthy for you guys. But yeah, let's move
right, and
on.
if you genuinely are born with, you're born as a female, and you have one of these rare disorders, like, you don't need to go on hormones. You don't need to do any surgeries. Like, your body is going to do what your body's meant to do, and that's great. Just let nature take its course. Like, it'll do it. So
Exactly. And then the biological differences between the both sexes, males tend to be higher, right? The average male height is 5 feet 10 inches, right? Am I correct? And then the female
it seems
body,
higher than I recall. But also, yeah, it depends on what population you're looking at in particular, and yeah.
yeah.
So
Well, it varies. These are just approximate numbers, guys. It depends on what statistics you are using. I have the resource here, and I'm going to give you the references in the end of the presentation, okay? And females tend to be shorter. Mm, doesn't matter really, like what kind of population you are looking at. They just tend to be shorter. They might vary between, like, if you compare women from the Western world and Asians, yeah, you'll definitely see the disparity there. There will be a difference, but even then, they tend to be shorter than men. Okay, we are comparing now women and men. Okay, because I see a lot of this crazy happening on social media that, oh, women are as powerful, as strong as men. No, biologically we are not. And this is the difference, what determines our gender, what determines our physical characteristics that define us, that differentiate us from one another. Then we look at physique and lifespan differences. Um, yeah, there is more or less 15% in difference in average muscle mass above and below the torso in between men and women. So men tend to have wider chests, narrow hips, right? Women tend to have smaller chests but wider hips because of the childbearing process. This is just the basic, really basic anatomy, guys. And yeah, men are stronger. They have more muscles above the torso. They have larger and heavier bones than women. Um, have more muscles below the torso, and it makes sense, right? They tend to have a little bit more endurance rather than men, but men can be exposed to higher impact activities, because historically men used to hunt, men used to be exposed to more stress rather than women. Okay, so when we are exercising, we need to keep that in mind, that even when you are choosing the type of activity, I covered it in one of the videos previously. We have to be mindful that what works for men doesn't necessarily work for women. Okay, because of these differences in the body and in the muscle mass. Okay, so
Yeah, and
let's.
one just interesting point that I like to bring up too is that if you look at, say, take like just a cubic centimeter of like male muscle and compare it to a cubic centimeter of female muscle, the female muscle actually is stronger, but
Yeah.
there's just a lot less of it. And the reason for that is because, basically your muscles, you've got your actin, myosin, and it's kind of like, electrical signals cause it to kind of like ratchet and like climb up the other. And so that's like the contraction. When that happens, you tend to tear and break muscles. Women have a lot more estrogen, which basically works as like an elastic in the muscle. So it's like they can, do stuff, pick things up, move throughout their day, not be tearing the muscles. So they're typically working at almost 100% capacity. Whereas like the average man just doing your day-to-day things, their muscles are so inelastic compared to a woman's that they're always working at, a percentage. I don't recall off the top of my head what percentage, but it's it's noticed. I mean, you can test this in a lab, and like the same, like I said, the same amount of male muscle is not going to have, basically the same efficiency. But they
Exactly.
have so much more muscle because of the testosterone that, yeah, overall they are stronger, even though like I said, like square
Yeah,
inch per
the
square inch, they're not.
individual muscles might be weaker in men. Oh, women, you're going to love it. You can say, you weak.
But it's also a reason why it's like harder for women to build muscle and bulk up because they're not, tearing and repairing all the time.
Exactly. Yeah, this is why it was mentioned before that women tend to have more endurance whenever they are exercising rather than men, because yeah, men yeah, it depends on the type of workouts, the type of activities that you are doing. This is why you see men running, jogging, doing this high impact, high intensity workouts, to also heavy lifting weights, that works for men, but not so much for women. Okay. And then we have this gender identity as gender expression. This is a new trend, guys. When we gave you the information about the biology, I don't even know. Like this one is so um, crazy because it's an innate sense of their gender. It has nothing to do with the objective facts of their body, their physical characteristics. It's just something that you assume, something that you think of yourself. Oh, today I feel like I'm a man, so therefore I am a man. No, it doesn't work that way. We've covered what the gender, what your sex is based on. So then the gender expression is more external. It's usually shown through style, appearance, or behavior. Gender expression doesn't have to align with gender identity, and it can change, as I've mentioned before. So today I feel like I'm a woman, you know. Tomorrow I feel like I'm a man, I'm a man. Does it change the biological fact? No, it does not. You know, it has very little to do with the reality. So you can't choose your gender, guys. This is where we are headed to. It is already chosen for you. You know, your genes, your genetics, your hormones, the what that Y protein Melody was mentioning, that determines your gender, not this stuff. Okay, and
Right.
then
Even interests and hobbies. I mean, like I should know. I obviously a biology nerd. I was a mathlete. You know, captain of the math and science teams all through high school. I played tabletop strategy games. Still play Dungeons and Dragons every week. You know, I've worked as a framer. I love carpentry, building houses. Um, that doesn't make me a dude. Like I may have a lot of interests that are, you know, especially in this society, like associated with, you know, masculinity or males, but it's like I'm just a female who enjoys those things. And it's really not any more complicated than that. You
yeah.
know. And I don't, lose sleep over it or like feel like I have to make a big deal of it. I do what I'm good at, and they just happen to typically be male dominated fields. And
Well, it's
fine.
what you do versus what you think of yourself. You know, this is more like we
Right.
are talking about the what people are thinking about themselves, what they are versus what they look. I love to do rifle class, and I only see men out there. You know, I wish there were more women. Honestly, maybe women would understand better what men are going through whenever they have to pull the trigger and kill the bad guy, for example, for women to defend the women, right? I love the self-defense classes. I think they are important for women because men are not always around. And um, it doesn't make me a man just because I do this activity, right? I'm still a female. I'm still a woman. It just gives me a better understanding of you know, what men are going through. And it's really important in order to be healthy, you need to be able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, you know. And this is what we have completely forgotten how to do in the modern society, you know. And now we see these transgender trends. Watch this: trans men do not owe anyone masculinity. No kidding, you know. And then trans women do not owe anyone femininity. Why? Oh my goodness. Non-binary people do not owe anyone uh, androgyny. You know, it's just so wrong. What do you think, guys? Let us know in the comments. What do you think about these trends?
I'm not a fan of it, but
Yeah.
and yeah, I think especially when it involves children, it's like kids. I mean, I remember wanting to be Peter Pan when I was little. You know, not only did I think that someday I could become a man, but I thought I could become a man who flies. You know, and that was
Mhm.
like real. You know, and I think if my parents had, you know, like fostered that and been like, yeah, that's totally like realistic. Yeah, it would not have gone well for me, you know. But it's,
Exactly.
you know, at the same time, if, you know, they were, you know, grounding me for wanting to, you know, spend my weekends working on my, you know, scale modeling, like painting my little miniatures so I could bring them to the, you know, the tabletop war games, you know, like, you know, I mean, that would have been like repressing, you know, my talents and, you know, what I enjoy for fun. And that's not right either. But yeah, I think, you know, especially when you start getting into like medical interventions that are not
Mm-hmm.
necessary. And that's, you know, a big problem that I have with hormonal birth control pills too, is it's, you know, people can, you know, claim it's in the, you know, I don't know, the ideals of feminism all they want, but all it is the patriarchy saying like, this is a human female body that's working perfectly fine, doing exactly as it should with, you know, the surgeon estrogen and then the surgeon progesterone, you know, which are related to, you know, regulating cancer cell development, bone growth, all these different things. It's like, yeah, everything's working perfectly fine. Let's shut it down.
Wow.
And it's
Yeah.
like, that's not helpful to women. That, it's harmful. And so it's, it's the same thing with, giving, it's like this child is developing normally as they should for their body. And like, nope, we're going to shut it down. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to keep you under our thumb. We're going to, make you somehow fit into what we want, our ideals of, it's like I said, I mean, by all means,
So,
if
what
you,
are the ideals with these pills that prevent pregnancy? Uh, are they any good? Because I see that when I did take some of them back when I was younger, right? But I didn't take them for very long because I noticed how they affected my mood. I noticed how they affected my hormones, and I was gaining weight. And I know that uh like I knew that it wasn't good for me, so I stopped using them. And then I realized, okay, if I don't want to get pregnant, I should just stop having sex, especially with the guys that I don't like. Why to bother, just like, if you don't have sex, you're not going to get pregnant, guys.
yeah,
And then there are so many other ways now how to prevent pregnancy. It just I don't understand why women are fighting so hard for abortion. Really, there are so many preventative methods out there. The IUDs, amazing things. Go install one, and yeah, it has a little bit of hormone, but you don't have to kill your liver to you know not be pregnant. And
well, and there's copper IUDs as well, which basically just they honestly don't really know how they work. Last I checked, anyway. But they think it's just like the copper basically like irritates, the endometrial lining to where like, a implantation is not really going to occur.
mhm,
And then that kind of gets into, like some people, there's all sorts of debates like, when does life actually begin? Is it when it implants, or is it, upon fertilization? And there's, it's there. I'm not going to get back into a biology rant on like different, odd things that can happen shortly after fertilization. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's definitely this idea that you can, basically like keep your body under the male thumb and like under male dominion through hormonal birth control pills so that they can like bang you for free and not have to pay the consequences. Like, it's
Yeah,
not.
but somebody will still pay the consequences. I think it will be women who will pay the consequences. I really do. Because look, we don't know. In the long run, a lot of women stop using these hormones once they realize, okay, I want to have a child, and then she settles, maybe she marries, right? But then on a longer spectrum, what kind of side effects do these birth control pills have on women? Because women are the ones who are going to pay, and if they don't realize it now, they will have to do it sooner. Yeah, sure, they are making it easy for themselves that they don't have to deal with the consequences, but somebody still will. So we will have the depopulation in the world, maybe. Like something I was referring people to watch that movie, the Children of Man, when only one woman managed to be pregnant, and
Oh
then the
yeah.
rest of them couldn't. And this this stuff, yeah, you can laugh at it, but there is some truth to that, because I think that we are kind of headed that way, with all the craziness that's happening right now. Women don't want to have children. Now I see more men, they want to marry, they want to settle, they actually are interested in the relationship. When in history was it even possible? But there was only women who were fighting for men. And now it's like men, they are left with like these women who don't want to have families, who don't want to have children, who can do whatever the hell they want to do. Even once they marry and kind of settle, they still want to pursue and optimize their hypogamy and find a better mate for themselves, so they can have a better sex, they can have better, I don't know, sensations and emotions, the drive, whatever it is. This is so crazy. This is so nuts, guys. I'm really scared to where we are headed. Seriously, what do you think? Let us know in the comments. We haven't seen any comments so far. Yeah.
Another interesting thing about hormonal birth control is that that spike that occurs in like the female hormones just prior to ovulation is extremely attractive to men, and it comes through very subtly, but men can perceive it in a woman's voice. Because the increased estrogen makes the vocal cords a little more elastic, and there's just something about the timbre that's just like screams like, this woman's fertile, like I want some of that. And yeah, there's been studies done that like women who are on hormonal birth control pills, since they don't put out those signals and the pheromones and all that they become far less attractive to men. Which is an interesting thing. And so, yeah, a lot of times, even maybe if a woman hasn't been on birth control pill, but then, she gets involved in a serious relationship, she starts taking it, and then the chemistry is just gone because it literally is, So that's, another thing that I don't think no one ever really talks about. I mean, there is plenty of research out there if, you look for it, but they're not going to be saying that on the birth control infomercials.
Definitely. I think Michael Sartian covered this in one of his videos. I was watching him on Instagram, actually. Guys, if you want to follow Mike Sartian, go check him out. And yeah, there are a lot of people who are talking about it. You just need to find those people and search for it. Read the studies and educate yourself, because what happens now, it's just nuts. So we are going to talk a little bit about the agricultural revolution that was the prelude to the industrial revolutions. And so we've had the reallocation of land ownership to make farms more compact, and we had some technical improvements. New machinery has led us to better drainage, and we came up with the new scientific methods of breeding new crops and system of crop rotation. Norfolk, I'm just kind of going through them. 4-course system: wheat, turnips, barley, clover, ryegrass. We learned how to cultivate these grains, and then shorthorn beef cattle through selective breeding. This is just for people who think that meat is coming from the freezer section in the supermarket. Really? Where do you think your food is coming from? Guys, let us know in the comments, huh? And then we had the industrial revolutions that I think were an amazing thing, because this is what our ancestors were fighting for. This is what they were building. This is what they were constructing for us, so that we, the millennials, could live in a better world. And we do, and we take it for granted. Look, we have changed the agrarian and handicraft economy into industry and machine manufacturing. New ways of working transformed our society. We have changes in basic materials. We use iron, steel, and we also have motive power, coal, steam engine, electricity, petroleum. So many resources. We learned how to extract them, how to use them. And then invention of new machines, the spinning jenny, cotton gin, power loom, expanded production with smaller expenditure of human energy. We learned how to extract resources with less effort and save people time, right? And then factory system, division of labor, functional specialization, transportation. We see the steam locomotive, automobile, airplane, communication, telegraph, radio, TV, internal combustion engine, controlled electricity, light bulbs. We have electricity now. We don't have to use the
light
candle.
was such a huge thing because it used to be, there's a lot of things that you just can't really do well with only candlelight. And so like
Exactly.
the amount of hours in the day, depending on, how far north or south you live and what time of year it is, like you might not have that many hours to get things done, and so then with light though, it's like you can work an 8-hour day no matter what time of year it is or where you live. Like just turn on the lights once it starts getting too dark
Yeah.
out. And that was a huge impact on like just the potential for production of different things. So
Then we also have science. A lot of research has been done, a lot of studies. Then we tested. Now we have the laboratories that are doing most of the testing for science purposes, for the vaccines and etc. We fought so many diseases, with the research, with the science, with the engineering application of that science, and coming up with good drugs. And then we had increased use of natural resources, mass production of manufactured goods, synthetic resources, lighter metals, rare earths, alloys, plastics, development of machines, tools, computers, automatic factories, common stocks purchases, insurance companies, and laissez-faire allowed to do. This is an interesting component, actually. It's when the government started interfering into the lives of people more. Well, yeah, I was wondering what you would think about this one, guys. And then governments moved into the social and economic realm to meet more needs of individual societies. Yeah. And then we have traditional gender roles and differences. And feminism started in the 1970s or earlier. I would say in some countries it was earlier because it kind of constructed this belief, and also the uh, social uh, government structure, like communism. It's based on feminism. If you want to see where you are headed, look at the communist societies, what happens there, and you will understand everything. So traditional gender roles. Now, finally, we arrived to this point. We just had to give you some history, some basic facts before, okay, so that we can base this information on. Okay, traditionally, men were hunting, they were building homes, they were defending the fatherland. There were many wars that were fought, and they worked hard. They built and maintained the infrastructure. They protected their families, their wives, their tribes, their communities, right? Their countries. They built shelter house. Okay, it was mentioned already. Sorry. They procreated, right? They did the farming. They provided for their families. They took loans. They were paying the loans back. Women were not issued loans before. It's a very new concept. When women can take loans and pay for themselves. And even then, do they actually pay for themselves, or they still, men are paying for them? Anyway, so they were showing the gender roles to their sons, to their daughters. They were teaching their sons how to be a father, how to be the leader of the family. And well, of course, they also, in a good scenario, they respected their wives and treated them well. Then what women did? Let's look at this. Yeah, they stayed at home, they raised children, they helped men, and it comes from the Bible, guys. If you are a religious person, go check out the history and or check the Old Testament. And look, they cooked healthy meals for their kids and for their husbands. They cleaned the house. They were sewing. They were knitting, making clothes, especially during the war times. There were a lot of women who were involved in this process. Everybody was fighting it. And women were working hard back then. They were gardening, they were doing herbalism, they were farming, they were educating their children, they were facilitating comfort at home, right? Well, obviously provided sexual uh, duties to their husbands, let's say. They dressed up for their husbands. Doesn't happen very often nowadays, does it? Then they appreciated and they respected their husbands. They taught children proper manners and behavior. and they sacrificed, we would call it a sacrifice, but back then it wasn't perceived as a sacrifice. The woman knew what she was getting. If she was taken care of completely and she didn't have to worry about the money, if she didn't have to worry about who would protect her, who would defend her, it's not to say that she wouldn't kill a bad man. Women were, look, guys, we were watching a movie, Yellowstone. I highly recommend you to watch this movie. It's a series, you know, it's a TV show. And there was the old section in the movie where they were explaining how John got the land, right? And women were fighting. They knew how to use guns. They knew how to gun. They knew so many things back then that nowadays it's like with all of the degrees that women have, yeah, unless they are in the field and unless they are actually working and pursuing those careers, they don't know much. How many women, well, Melody, you are the exception. I'm not talking about you here. I know I know you know that stuff. But like generally, how many women know how to garden? How many women know the herbs, and the plants and what plants to use? You do realize that a lot of pharmaceutical products, the pills, are based on these plants, on these herbs, on the spices, um, especially if you're taking supplements.
Well, it's just
And
weird too that like now it's almost like if you do like take the time, which it takes a lot of time to like become competent in like herbalism and stuff. It's like but typically people like they turn it into like a business rather than like
yeah,
this is just something that as a human living with other humans you should be knowledgeable about and like know how
and
to help yourself and
women
others.
back
And now it's
then,
like if you do have that real basic skill, it's like a big deal and like that's like your business and what you're all about rather than like just saying you should do it. You look at like communities where they're still more traditional, unless haven't undergone like the industrial revolution, have been more isolated. It's like yeah, it's just a normal thing. Like your average person in the tribe is familiar with over 1,000 plants, knows the names for all of them, knows when to harvest them, how to harvest them, what to do with them. And that's not a big deal. That's not something special. Now it's like if you have that knowledge, like, wow, you're really something, and like these primitive societies, it's like that's still just that's just a basic part of like being a person, especially a female.
surviving, yeah.
So
uh, Look, guys, I highly recommend you to watch that movie because they were showing the Oregon path, the Oregon Trail, how they got here. And yeah, it was partly fiction, but it's based on a true story, right? It really was hard, and a lot of people got killed or they died because of the natural causes. There were a lot of snakes. There were like you had to know so much back then just to be able to move around, to be able to survive. That nowadays, when we move, it's like, oh, okay, just jump into the car and drive wherever you need. Yeah, the gas station is out there. It's so convenient, and people take it for granted. People take something that our ancestors were fighting for. When they came here, there was nothing. It was just a land. And then they spent time. They spent yeah, so much dedication on building it, on working on this land. And then that movie really tells you where the food is coming from. If you think that it's in the supermarket, go watch that movie. Okay.
yeah, and I mean, I just want to mention too. I mean, there's always been, like development in agrarian systems here, and I mean, in some parts of the U.S. is very. I mean, they have like large storage facilities for storing grains and beans and stuff. But even over like kind of in the Puget Sound area, like I used to work for an environmental institution. I was like, I'd collect seeds and stuff of like native plants, and like sometimes you just come across, like some flower that's like pretty rare, and you just come across like a field, like several acres of it. Because, back then, like the indigenous people, they weren't growing wheat and barley because they're not native from here. But, they'd they would intentionally plant and tend huge fields of camas and chocolate lily and, you know, all these other like nutritious, healthy, starchy roots and tubers. And it wasn't like they were just, you know, primitive out foraging all day. I mean, yeah, people have always foraged. I still forage, but yeah, I mean, there definitely was agriculture going on, but it wasn't the crops that we were familiar with or used to. So instead of just kind of like adapting to like what was here and what grew well here, and I don't necessarily think it's good because, you know, then we imposed our ways of doing it, but the land's not meant to support it, and so it requires a lot more inputs. It causes a lot more, it's just not as, you know, sustainable for a long-term approach. So yeah, I just wanted to add that as a little side note.
And coming back to the traditional women, they were nowadays sacrificing their personal interests for the interests of the family, or the interests of their husbands. But I wouldn't call it a sacrifice. Women knew back then what they were getting. If they were getting the protection, security, and they were taken care of by men, they treated men with respect. You know, they appreciated men for their hard work. They realized how much work it was that men were doing. Okay? And if we look at nowadays, interesting. So men still need to do their traditional duties, by the way. Men still need to maintain the infrastructure. Men still are building the houses. Men still are building the roads, right? Men still are providing food, providing shelter. They work hard. They are defending the fatherland, right? And then they pay for the bills. They still procreate to some extent, but it's like a lot of men they realize how much burden it is to deal with modern women. This is why they choose not to. You know, a lot of men check out. They don't want to deal with women anymore, and it's understandably so when we look at the high list of women and their interpretation of what, you know, they should expect from men. Yeah, they were taking care of children. They still. Oh, and now in addition to that, all of this traditional male duties, he has to be an emotional tampon for his wife. So if she blows up or if something bad happens, he has to be there for her so that she can cry on to someone. Okay, this is where I would distinguish starting from emotional tampon. You know, this would be like the beta-tized, the feminized man. This would be the women, modern women's expectations from men. Okay. Oh, and then we say like take care of his wife, his girlfriend, his woman, even if he's not married. Otherwise, he's an asshole, right? And then uh, he has to treat her with respect and be the white knight to defend her in every situation. Even if she drags herself into a bad situation, he has to bail her out. This is the absurdity of it. And that was the example that Melody brought up, that one woman almost attacked her, and that guy, her husband, he almost punched her, you know? It's like, seriously.
Fortunately, I had like several strong men there to protect me because, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna, this guy was like 6.5 feet tall, and it's like, again, it's like if two women are like duking it out verbally, if you want to get involved verbally, that's fine, but don't take it into like, you know,
Yeah.
the masculine sphere of getting physically violent, you know, especially
Yeah.
if, you know, the
And
person
depend
getting
whom.
violent has the
Depend
same thing to do.
depend whom. Your wife, who
Right.
caused a lot of damage, a lot of trouble. Come on, man, you can do better than that. Seriously. Oh my gosh. The damage is not just feminized women, it's also feminized men who are support, they are rolling each other, you know, like they are feeding each other. It's so detrimental to the society, you know. Where is your brain? Turn it on, please. And then, well, okay, treat her with respect, be a white knight, serve his wife, make make her happy, you know. We say the expression here, happy wife, happy life. Rolla calls it an ultimatum, you know. I agree 100%. Melody, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, it's one of those things because like a woman who's not happy like can make her husband absolutely miserable
Yeah.
very easily, and like, you know, it's men are people, like they do have feelings, and if you treat them, just with disrespect, and especially if they're like going out of their way, if someone's disrespect to you, it's like, don't deck them, but you don't have to go out of your way to show them respect. But it's like, hopefully in like a marriage situation, there would be mutual respect, or any sort of, like friendship or, close relationship.
Mm-hmm. Then accept her the way she is, even after she cheats. Some men, man, this is a question to you. Would you forgive your wife if she cheated on you? Tell us, what do you think in the comments? Would you take her back if she cheated on you? And then if you say, oh, it was just an emotional thing, like nothing special, I was just testing my hypogamy. Otherwise, she wouldn't say that, but this is effectively what she was doing. So would you take her back?
To like women trying to basically almost be like, you caused me to cheat because you were emotionally distant, or you weren't giving me enough time, or this or that.
What is it? Emotional tampon. You were not enough tampony for her.
Right, you weren't
high or whatever you call it.
You were like a light flow tampon, and I needed the ultra heavy flow. And it's like, well,
exactly. There is always somebody better out there, that she can go and this is why she has a team army.
Like, it'll be easy for him to like pretend to be like super emotionally invested in her, and like, oh, I'm sorry that your husband or boyfriend or whatever is like so cold and distant. It's like,
oh my gosh, man, when you do it, by the way, when you take a woman, how to distinguish a good woman from a slut, let's say. Let's call it what it is, okay? Feminism really downgraded women and converted them into sluts, these low-value women who would trade their husbands for anything that appears to be better. It's not necessarily better, but it shows to be better, okay? And then I would stay away from these women who would trade their husbands for you, because at some point you will be that man who will be underwater. She will go for another man. Look at how she treats her husband. Is she willing to sacrifice her husband for you? If she is, run away from her. She's not a good woman. Well, I mean, unless you are really a total simp and a feminized man by yourself and you believe the same thing she does, then yeah, sure, but you will be picking up the crab after her, because she is going to do exactly the same thing with you. Cheaters don't change. They will keep cheating, and they will blame you for not providing for them, for not taking care of them. They will come up with all sorts of ways to blame you guys. And this is what I see happens. There was one friend, his wife cheated on him right in his apartment, and then he was so confused, total beta, by the way, and he was willing to take her back. My husband had to go and talk to this guy, and say, no, you don't take these women back. They are done. Kick her to the curb where she belongs. This is it. This is the reality, girl. There are consequences to your choice. There should be consequences to this kind of behavior. If you prioritize your Instagram account over your husband, kick her to the curb. She is not a good woman that you should be marrying to, especially if you're a decent guy. If you can provide, if you can take care of her, yeah, sure. If you can't produce any value, then yeah, you're kind of stuck with what you are. But there are a lot of good betas out there. I'm not saying that betas are bad or anything. I'm just saying that, like, maintain the framework, for yourself and for your wife.
But it's maintaining self-respect, and it's just, because she got big boobs or something doesn't mean that she can disrespect you and like, flash them to whoever she wants. And, and that's fine. If that's all she wants to do, I guess that's her choice, but don't tag someone along, drag them along, think that it's some serious relationship,
Yeah.
And then also just that, yeah, like you were saying, anything that someone like does in front of you, it's just like, don't be blown away if they do it to you, because that's obviously their MO.
This is how they use. This is the mating strategy. This is who they are. You can't change that. The only thing you can do is work on yourself and don't make the same mistake again. Analyze the situation. What I see often, a lot of men, they usually, especially if they've been hurt, they don't want to jump into new relationships until they figure it out. This is a smart approach, by the way. I would call it like, yeah, sure, take your time to recover, to heal, and analyze what was wrong there, you know. But a lot of women don't do the same thing. They jump from one relationship to another, and they create a lot of mess for themselves, and if you're not willing to take the time, recover from the relationship, and figure out what you did wrong there, you're going to make the same series of mistakes with another dude, and then you will blame it on the dude. It will never be your fault, when in fact it is your fault. It is something that you are doing that either throws this decent man off, or you are still unmarried. It is your fault. It's not man's fault that you are not married. You are doing something wrong that oppresses men, that makes them not want to be in a serious relationship with you. Start with yourself. Okay, let's finish this. Accept her the way she is. I see once women marry nowadays, they think that they are done. Their job is done. They just pop up a few keys. And, oh, yes, they hooked up the guy who is going to take care of them, who is going to provide for them. The legal system is there to support them. So women are so disincentivized to keep working on themselves, to exercise, to watch their diet. There is a minimum request right now from women. Thanks to all of these technologies, you don't even have to do the hard work with your hands. You can just turn the button on the vacuum cleaner. Oh, how hard can it be? You can turn the dishwasher. Oh, it takes time and I have to still load the dishes. Too bad. Oh my goodness. Look at the traditional women, how much work they did. Look at the contemporary women, how much they whine on social media. I saw a post another day, yesterday. I actually brought it up to you guys. There was a woman, Melody, I don't know if you saw this or not, and she was saying, oh, I had such a hard decision to make. I couldn't decide what I should do first. Shall I go cook dinner? Shall I go clean the house? Shall I, take care of my car? And then she finally realized, oh, I came up with this self-love time. I realized that it was needed and my car needed the cleaning. And she made such a big emphasis. She made a post. She made a reel out of this thing, that she took care of your car that needed to be taken care of a long time ago.
Just do your things.
Okay, right. You cleaned the toilet where you were pooping. Literally. This is what you told me. And it's like, you got a bunch of likes from people. Seriously? We are doomed. It's just like the amount of insanity out there. Women have so much free time now. They can go open their mouth on social media, and the more they open it, the more bullshit comes out of it. The more likes they're going to get. Seriously. I was like, okay, you cleaned your toilet where you were pooping and making mess. Congratulations. What do you want me to say here?
Yeah. And that's and that's just taking care of your own stuff anyway. It's not, and even if you do like go out and like do help some like person with mobility issues, like an elder, someone, even if you go out and do some help for some other person, it's not related to you, or just, why do you gotta make a big deal of it? But especially when it's just like, these are cleaning your own toilet, putting away your own dishes. Yeah. Like, are you 3? Like, these are,
this is the maturity level, Melody. This is what we are fighting. Women stopped maturing. They can be 60, they can be 50, but they can still, their maturity level is 3 years old, maybe 5, maybe 13. The moment they realize they can get whatever they want by spreading their legs from men, and the society, the men will give it to them, the government will provide it for them. I'm telling, we have simplified life for women so much with the technological advancements, with the governmental support, with all of the leverage, with all of the supremacy that women get from men. It just became really nuts. Women are lazy nowadays. They don't want to do anything. I'm not saying that all women are like that. There are some women who are in science. How many women are in STEM specialties?
Well,
Go
honestly,
check.
nowadays, like college is such a deterrent for men that I mean, there's definitely a lot more women, you know, in biology at least than there used to be. But you look at like just overall rates of like who's going to college,
Mm-hmm.
and there's way more. And I think some of that started out with affirmative action or whatever, which I I honestly I find it insulting. And like I was offered a lot of scholarships from various colleges for my undergrad degree.
Mm-hmm.
And my graduate stuff is all being paid by scholarships too, which is funded by a man. And so even though I'm not like, oh, I'm some self-made woman, it's like, no, I realize that like, even though I've worked very hard, it's, the financial support of men that I don't even know who've enabled me to like go this path of like, pursuing the STEM stuff. But yeah, I remember, I'd gotten a scholarship that was like purely merit based, but then I got like an additional letter. And it's like, because you're a female and like you really excel at math, like we want to give you a full ride. It's like,
Yeah.
no, if I'm good enough at math that you want to give me a full ride, like give me a full ride. If my, something that I have no control over, like if my genitalia is influencing your decision, like I'm not interested in your school. Like that is insulting. If
Yeah.
you think that because I have female anatomy that I, somehow merit or can't, it's just weird. Yeah, I'm
The
totally opposed to that, but
objectivity
it is
is
very
missing.
prevalent. And yeah,
Yeah.
I think that has shifted. And then just kind of the culture is so, I mean, almost hateful toward men,
Mm-hmm.
especially in academia and like college campuses. That it's like, yeah, I'm really not surprised that like, some dudes start out and then they're just like, I don't want to deal with this. Like, put me in the trades or something, like I can make a living without all the
Yeah, this
crap.
is why they go for narrow specialties. They don't get to the point when they get degrees, because it's honestly, it makes no sense. You have to go through so much mess to just prove yourself that you're not an imbecile and you know something. When if you want to be a better human, you need to be a woman. This is what they are effectively saying. Okay, I'm not surprised to see the transgender trend going on here, because look at how much leverage women get over men, and these men who do it to themselves. Okay, they might be considered as women, so they might say, "Oh, I'm actually a woman. I decided my own gender. I think women are the best. So give me that protection. Give me what women get." You know, and I just I look at it and yeah, how is it healthy? How is it going to help us to live through the hard times? It's not, and the hard times are coming. The economy is falling apart. The globalization is falling apart. How are we going to sustain? See, feminism only works at the backs of somebody funding it. Communism only works when somebody actively contributes to it. But when that somebody is not contributing to whatever bullshit is running, it's not going to sustain itself. How it's going to, well, the damage that it has already created is just obscene. you know And yeah, I definitely see that. I don't like to be judged only on the female criteria. I want to be judged objectively. If you don't like something, and this is what I keep saying to you guys, if you disagree, bring up your argument, but behave like an adult. It's very feminist of you, honestly, to call me names, for raising these controversial topics, and not tell us where we can improve, how should we approach the situation, and like bring up your argument, let's discuss, let's talk about it, but don't throw a hissy fit. So common, people call each other names. We see families break up, we see friendships break up because of that. They forgot how to communicate to each other. If you want me to improve, tell me where I can improve, what I can do better. Be more objective, be more rational. I'm begging you, give me constructive feedback. If you don't like something, bring it up. Okay? I think we are lacking the objectivity. And when I pointed out that people could do better, after that video that we did with AB and you the other day, when we were talking about the logical fallacies, um, a lot of instructors didn't take it the professional way. Okay, I'm only criticizing the message that you are telling. I'm not attacking you personally, but they took it personally. Or you are threatening my family, or you are doing this, or you're doing that. You're such a mean creature for doing that. I'm like, how am I mean? Come on, come here on stage with me. Let's talk. Tell me into my face, that I'm an asshole. Do you have guts to do it? Or you are just okay to, call me names behind the scene and send me the stupid DMs, that, oh, you're just evil. Who do you think you are? Maybe I have a little bit more understanding of what happens because I've been studying, I've been watching other people's content, maybe just a little bit, maybe because I spent 7 years studying communications and mass media in college, maybe. Would you give me that? No, okay. You think I'm an evil person out there. Okay, great, perfect. Anyway, this was just
People are just gonna think what they want to think, and like, you're not gonna be able to change their mind. It's just kind of like, okay, just.
And I feel like the more we fight this delusion, the more we fight this craziness, the more aggressive they become. The more they proving their point. And then I keep watching the content that shows up, and the more I challenge people, the more they are glued to their idea, what they want to believe. And I'm like, guys, it's not healthy for you, but you're going to pay the consequences either way. It's either you pay for them soon, in a few decades, your children are going to pay for it, for sure. Let's look at women now. Okay, what's their priorities? Instagram, social media, right? We've established that. Social validation, social proof, these stupid free likes that they get. I call them empty likes because they didn't actually produce any objective value to the society, but they get this kind of empty likes just because people empathize, people sympathize with what they're posting. Then the strong, independent, working woman. Yeah, okay. Then spend most of the time on social media chasing the cloud. Yes. Ignore family. How many women ignore their families? Or they will actually make a post of how great of a housewife she is, for example, showing off her kids, doing some stupid faces out there.
What always bothers me, it's like, instead of just like being a good mother, it's like you see all these like social media posts about how they're a good mother. It's like, but if you're obviously distracted by your cell phone or whatever, like, just put it down and actually be a good mother. If you're so involved with your children, you're not going to have time to be recording every second of it. And like, even sometimes, like, I'll go to the park or something, you'll see, a family walk in, and like, one of them's like pushing a stroller, and there's, a couple kids, and like, and sometimes it's both parents. It's very often like, the female's on her cell phone, instead of like engaging with the children at this lovely day at the park,
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It seems odd to me.
Yeah, you are married to your Instagram. I raised the question on social media, on Instagram. Whom are you married to? Are you married to your husband, or are you married to your Instagram? I get a feeling a lot of women are not going to respond to that question. It was more a rhetorical question. Okay, I already know the answer to this question. I usually don't ask a question that I don't know the answer to. But just they would definitely sacrifice their husbands for their Instagram account. And we see the proof of it every single day. She is not willing, even if she is dating a good man, and she's marrying a man tells her, look, can you, the people break apart because of this. No, she wants to maintain her Instagram. And why does she want to do it? Access to better penises out there. Seriously. Okay, let's move on here. Ignores the family, ignores husband's demands. Demands, so he can't even demand anything from him. Okay, it's kind of cut out, yeah, but we get the idea. Then she puts herself naked on social media. I've seen pictures of women on Instagram barely wearing any clothes, barely, like just covering a little bit, and this is enough, by the way. And if you look at cheating, who is cheating, I think we should apply different criteria for men and for women. I think for men, obviously, it's sleeping with multiple females, right? This is considered to be cheating. But if women are doing the same thing, they're trying to be like a man, this is the wrong thing to do, because we as a society, we shouldn't judge them how many, well, obviously it's the extreme situation, how many men they slept with, but it starts with putting provocative pictures of yourself on social media, because this is how you are inviting men to look at you. And this is where we should judge women, I think. This is where we should tell women, okay, you are inviting men to have sex with you. It takes two to tango, always two to tango. If And then it's so convenient, damn, it's so convenient to say, oh, I didn't do it, but what can I say? I'm just out there so beautiful, so pretty, and etc. You put
No,
a
so
piece
you
of
can be beautiful and pretty, but it takes a concerted, conscious effort to create a social media account, get a bunch of semi-scandalous or extremely scandalous pictures of yourself and post them out publicly. That's not
exactly.
like, oh, I accidentally slipped and it happened. No, you didn't trip. You spent a lot of time and effort making this happen intentionally.
Look, you put a piece of meat in front of a tiger. What do you expect a tiger to do with this piece of meat? Not say, oh, what are the consequences of me eating that piece of meat going to be? Like, seriously, this is the natural thing that is going to happen. Men are going to drool
Well,
for
yeah,
the most
especially men
part.
are very visually stimulated, and that's one of the things where social media has just really warped things because back in the day, people would meet in person, and I mean, there's obviously physical visual attraction, but there's so much more. Like I was saying, just the detectable presence of estrogen levels through the timbre of the voice and the vocal cords, and the different chemicals that are put off and scents that aren't even perceptible, but it's the brain subconsciously picks up on these things. And yeah, you're almost just kind of doing away with that and solely focused on the fact that yes, men are visual, whether it's in person or through a screen, and just depending on that. But yeah, it's just it's artificial in a lot of ways because it's not the full picture, and it is taking advantage of just the way men are set up to be visually stimulated people.
Oh,
That's
totally.
yeah.
And they do it because it works. Because a lot of men can't say stop to themselves. They are simping, they are liking this kind of content, they are contributing, they are funding this kind of content. Look on OnlyFans. There would be fewer women if it didn't work. And what will happen in the recession or depression, in the downtime economy, a lot of men are going to run out of the resources. They're not going to have a lot of money for this. So the demand for this kind of content is not going to change. But the supply, on the other hand, is. Look at all of these women who were fired from the HR marketing department in Google, on Twitter, other companies, Amazon also. Where did they go? Oh, where is the easy money? Where is the easy money? I'm not going to go into STEM. I'm not that stupid. Why should I waste my time? And there are easier ways to do it. I'll just show my booties on internet and men will fund me. Well, these times are going to finish. And it's already highly competitive out there, so good luck for you if you're trying to pursue that kind of route. And guys, especially women, if you are thinking that way, it makes you a low value woman. Nobody is going to marry you if you are on OnlyFans. Nobody of the high value, high status man is going to marry a low status woman because they know you for who you are. It doesn't necessarily mean that they will not use you. They will use you. Look, you spread your legs, you know, sure, you put the meat in front of a tiger, the tiger will take it. But they are not going to take you seriously. They are not going to wife you. So delusional. Okay, naked on social media, we've determined that. Fitness instructors, this is another one where the objective criteria is missing for fitness instructors. The men are looking for content to simp for, you know, or is a girl wearing mini shorts, crop tops, etc. Is she wearing her bras and, you know, just like swimming suit, let's say? Can I simp for her? Yes. Okay, I like this content. Or if a girl is actually trying to teach me fitness, hell no, I'm too late. I don't want to do that. You know, I'm here for pleasure. I'm here for tingles, for sensations. You see how we have twisted the whole objective point that fitness instructors were supposed to bring you health and well-being. Guys, yeah, maybe you are getting health and well-being by famping. Don't get me wrong, a lot of men probably need that with the lack of women, and it's maybe like a free source for you to famp. But yeah, I get some requests sometimes from men. Oh, can you go naked? Can you do this? Can you do that? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not that stupid. You can find free porn elsewhere. You know, not on this channel,
Right.
guys. Not here. I'm not even sorry for saying that. You know, go find it's out there. If you don't like our channel, what we do here, unsubscribe. Unsubscribe, please. I don't want you here. Okay?
Right.
Man,
You're not gonna see any boobs on this channel. Like
no, we are teaching you fitness, guys. We are teaching you what is healthy. We are challenging your belief system. We want to improve. We want to get better. If you don't want that, please don't subscribe to this YouTube channel. I beg you, okay? I'm not going to feel hurt or anything. I will be grateful if you don't, because this is not, you know, it's not something that you want, and it's not something that I want, definitely. I don't want my subscribers to bug me, you know, and tell me that, oh, can you like what kind of can you wear these mini shorts, mini crops, and etc. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm a married woman. Period. I doubt Melody wants to do that either. She's not that stupid.
yeah, I mean, especially like winter time, it's like I'm wearing like a big old like
Cold.
robe sweater half the time just because yeah, I don't care to show my body off. And yeah, I'm more about just working out and working out. And I mean, obviously there's yeah, like yoga pants are better to work out than in jeans. I'm not gonna like go to the opposite extreme of like, I'm gonna, wear jeans and like, a full like shawl over myself or something, but it's like, yeah, the point is not sexuality. The
Yeah.
point is fitness, like safe approaches to movement, and yeah, just trying to stay healthy.
Why do we wear tight clothes? Why do we wear it? That it shows the curves of the body, and if we don't want to show our bodies, you have to be able to see what instructor is doing so that you can acquire proper posture and proper alignment. This is the only purpose. Look, if I could wear a baggy pants, I would wear them. You know, I actually love the loose pants. It's a recent thing with me and leggings, but it's easier for you to see and get into the proper alignment because you can see how the knees go. The knees are above the ankles, you know, where the abdominals are. You know, it's easier to see when a person is wearing tighter clothes, okay? Especially when you are teaching online classes. But it's not done so that you get to, you know, do other things. Obviously, you can do whatever you want with it. Just don't bring it up here, okay? Then, moving on. Squeezing the money resources from everyone. Yeah, we've determined that fact, right? Then dressing up for social media. who is guilty of that out there? Who dresses up for social media? I see a lot of women are putting beautiful dresses out there. I'm not talking just about like sluts and low value women who barely wear any clothes, but women definitely put a lot more effort to show off on social media. You see, sometimes you see me, I don't even wear any makeup out there. I just try to deliver the message to you guys. But like, I see a lot of crazy there. Then use your children, use your pets for social media to get more likes. They appeal to emotion. Everybody loves this kind of content. People are going to give you likes. But how are you getting these likes? This is a separate question. You are abusing your pets, you are abusing your children to get likes for yourself. Very narcissistic, very toxic behavior.
Well, I feel like, yeah, that using children to get what you want. I mean, it oftentimes really does tie into that point above about like squeezing money and resources from everyone, because it is like a shitty situation, because like, it's not the kid's fault that the mom's, selfish and whatever. But I mean, yeah, there's women who just have kids, and then it's like that's their golden ticket, like yeah, especially here. I mean, there's like these apartment buildings that like, it's for like single moms, and they're gorgeous buildings, like nicer than, what any working kind of middle class person could afford. There's swimming pool, playground, free daycare. So, you can go out and do whatever and just kind of leave your kid with the daycare. But it's like, yeah, if you got a kid and you're a single mom, that's like, a golden ticket. And again, in terms of like, feminism and like, supporting women and stuff, I think, one of the most noble things you can do, because there's the waiting list for adoptions are just, I mean, it's absurd. I mean, people will wait 7 years and pay like $40,000 for some drug addicted baby, because there's so much incentive to like keep your child, even if you have no means to support them. But it's like, that's your golden ticket to like an easier life.
Oh yeah.
And like, really the most noble thing you could do to, support the sisterhood, to be a true feminist, support other women, is like, hey, I didn't mean to get pregnant, but I am. Yeah, there's thousands of women who, like I said, them and their partners wait years on these lists, and they don't even care. Like, the baby could have developmental delays. They could be born addicted to meth, heroin, and have fetal alcohol syndrome. Like, these people are still willing to pay tens of thousands of dollars to raise these children properly. But yeah, it's just there's so much incentive to like keep your own child and just have life handed to you on a golden platter, then instead of like supporting women, being like, hey, sister to sister, like, you're obviously more, competent to like raise this child appropriately. I'd like to, and that's how it used to be done. But yeah, it's really, things have changed in the last half century for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of a tangent there, but
If you
like
don't
I said, ties into the whole
don't want to
using
get
children to death.
pregnant, guys, easy way. Don't have sex with men that you don't plan on marrying or having a serious relationship. The problem is that what feminism has created is like this low value women, right? Men, it actually serves to men's benefit. You can twist it the way you want. Men don't see women as serious. Okay, you got all the freedom. Women don't need men for survivorship. Men feel like, okay, if she doesn't need me, why to bother, And then he's not taking her seriously. He can do what he kind of wants to do. But then a woman is stuck. She's 36 years old and she's not married, but she has been run through by a lot of dudes. And because she was like, I'm a strong, independent woman. So where did your strength and independence lead you to? Being single and Dino, like Kevin Samuels was saying, I was watching a lot of his videos. He was talking mostly with the black people community, but I think it applies to all women. And then he was saying he didn't mock at women. He was just saying, okay, you end up alone, buy a dog and die alone. And this is what a lot of women are going to do. because it's either too late for them to realize that they screwed up, or they never realize that they screwed up. And even if they do realize, what can they do about it? Nobody wants them. They have been run through. They have lost all of their sexual market value. You see? And yeah, this stuff, reality is harsh. Reality is harsh. I don't want to be the bad guy who brings it up to you guys, but it is what it is. We are not coming up with this stuff out of nowhere. It's out there. And then, yeah, what else does she do? Like unfreeze microwaved meals for children. Good point that Melody brought up the other day, right? Like press the button on the vacuum cleaner, okay? This is an interesting point. Guys are going to like it. Starfish Sahara Desert sex once a year with your husband on anniversary day, it says here. Or sometimes twice a year, also for St. Valentine's Day, or some women will do it for Christmas if she's religious to some degree. Yeah, if he's lucky, if he's lucky, he will get sex twice a year, and it will be this like starfish. She will be just laying down, spreading her legs, not doing much. I mean, like, yeah, seriously. Then blame your husband for your hard life. Oh, geez. How hard can it be a woman nowadays?
I do see that a lot. Yeah, typically. Because, yeah, it's like, yeah, the men still have all the expectations of, like, the traditional man of, like, like, and sometimes it's like, the man is taking care of the basic needs. Like, you got a car, you got a roof over your head, you got food, but it's like, oh, but it's not, the nice house in the development with the swimming pool in the backyard, or it's, it's like we're eating at, a regular restaurant. We're not going to like the 5-star, like $75 a plate restaurant, and it's like, but it's still, it's always the man's fault,
Oh yeah, always. So. Always. There is always better for women, except for, is there really? Okay, blame your husband. Break the entire family over a stupid reason. I see this a lot happening. Like, oh, he didn't take the garbage out. Boom, divorce.
Yeah, I mean, typically it is something where, like, their emotions, it's like all these little things that like add up, but it's like, yeah, but they're all still just little things, and like maybe he's a frustrating person to live with in different ways, but especially if you have kids and he's taking care of the kids and he's not abusing anyone. I mean, obviously there are like horrible situations where it's like, yeah, you need to keep yourself and your children safe and like get away, but it's not typically what I see anyway. Yeah, you do see it's like they'll set some ultimatum, typically the female, and then it's like the guy, didn't take out the garbage or like came out with his muddy shoes. And then it's like, I told you that if there was one more thing, it's like, well, there's going to be one more little thing. Like, people,
there will be. You just
live a while. There's always going to be little things.
What did you expect? You are in a relationship. You have to find compromises. It's an ongoing process. You have to keep working on yourself. The other person is working on himself. You're doing it together. And yeah, if your attitude is like just my rules, my things, well, go pound yourself and find yourself a dog. Die alone.
Right, and like it's fine to, I mean, yeah, I'm single and planning on staying single, and I don't have any pets, but I mean, yeah, I'm also not out there like, expecting men to take care of me, but then for me to also just be like living my own life. It's like, okay, well, I'm, and part of it's just,
I understand. I do have respect for women who acknowledge the responsibility and who are accountable for their own choices. Okay, like you said, I don't rely on men for taking care of me. I can sustain myself. I can take care of myself. Okay, but then she's not blaming men for not giving it to her. You see, because what happens a lot. Like, why are you not married? Well, it's your own choice. Then if you own it, that it's your own choice, it's your own decision, then it's one thing. But when you say, oh, because the men suck, and men, there are no good men out there are plenty of good men out there.
Yeah.
Don't tell me otherwise. I've seen good men, I've dated good men, and they are out there. The problem is you, and until you realize that it's you, no matter what you do, it's you're not going to change the situation. Look, until I realized that I was doing something wrong, maybe a little bit, I didn't have much luck in my relationships, and I didn't have a lot of them. I was always taking time to analyze what did I do wrong. I didn't blame men for doing something, that okay, why. I was trying to understand why were they doing that thing. And the information is out there, women. If you want to learn how to be a traditional woman, you need to work for it, because we've been brainwashed for so many generations now. I know it's completely eliminated out of the mass media. There are no movies about it. Well, Yellowstone depicted some of it. You can still find it in the older movies, like James Bond movies, um, when it was still okay for men to show their like sexuality on TV, and like praise men in to some extent. But you're not going to find it in these Netflix feminized movies. And if Netflix is the only thing you watch out there, you're not going to have much luck if you are trying to become a traditional woman all of a sudden. It's not like it will click right away for you. You have to keep working on it. You have to do the actual mindset work, the do other things. Nobody can do it for you. You have to fix it yourself. You have to put in effort. I can't do it for you, and I honestly don't want to. I don't want to fix women who are broken. Why should I want to do that? It's not my goal to fix broken people unless they realize that they've messed up, especially those who still believe that they are the best out there. They have no room for improvement. Everybody owes them. This kind of entitled women, nobody wants to deal with them. Even women, this feminist sisterhood, it's like it's falling apart. It doesn't exist. It never existed, even. It's all delusion that it's all the women, all the support. And
it's a lot of talk and emotion is what it really seems to come down to. But then, like I was saying, when it comes to actual action, it's like you don't see it. You just don't.
It's not there. It's not there. I was deceived by this feminism too. And gosh, I'm grateful I realized when I did, and it was pretty early for me. I kind of always wanted to marry. I always wanted to settle. So this is why I didn't date. I was very selective with the guys that I had relationship with. And yeah, I think fewer partners for women makes them better women, makes them high value women. And this is what women should be proud of, not like, oh, I slept with this guy, and they are so like some women are really proud of themselves for sleeping with so many guys, but they are applying the same male criteria on themselves, which women shouldn't do. This is why I'm saying there is a different criteria for cheaters, male cheaters versus female cheaters. Female cheaters are the ones exposing themselves for cheating, not necessarily like available right away, to spread your legs and sleep with a guy, but the ones who are inciting this kind of behavior, they are the cheaters. So be careful, guys, especially if you see these women. There are a lot of them, out there on internet. And then what else? Sacrifice your children, your husband, in pursuit of your dreams, in pursuit of your career, pleasure, new adventures, new sentiments, and etc. Oh, but it was my desire for the entire. I've always wanted to be that. Well, too bad. Life has moved on. You have to move on too.
You don't just accidentally end up in a serious relationship. Like you make a choice, and it's choose one or the other. And if you'd rather pursue a career, that's fine. But just this kind of idea that you
can't do
can do
both.
both effectively. And that's the thing, like, can you do both? Sure. Are you going to be super effective in your career and as a wife and mother? No. I mean, and the only women that I've seen like pull it off somewhat well, they really aren't doing one of those things. They either have a lot of assistants working for them in terms of their career field, or they have, a governess, nannies, house cleaners, people basically taking care of the home front for them, because you can't spread yourself that thin into two completely different spheres of,
Oh, no, definitely.
operating and be super effective in both of them.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. And I see those women who are in STEM specialties and they are good at what they do. They are good doctors. They are good engineers. There are a few women out there who actually bring value to the society, but they are mostly focusing on that. They are not mothers, they are not married. They um, might have a husband or a partner, but it's not the most important thing. It's not their privilege, it's not their sorry, not privilege, priority. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, if your goal is to be married at some point, you can't. And I see it, and no matter how you tell it to people, I see women showing off like their kids, and they say, "Oh, I have this family business and blah blah blah. You can do both, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to do both." I'm like, to what extent and at what expense do you do it? You are showing off that you get more likes, more clout. Yeah, the clout and likes don't necessarily bring you the money. This is also the misleading part of it. I've yet seen anybody who is following me actually signing up for the classes. All of the in-person clients that I've had, they were people whom I talked to in person. You know, there was one woman who she actually signed up for the membership on Patreon, and thank you, thank you, yeah, thank you for your kind support. But still, not that many out of all of the subscribers that I have right now, and I don't think I'm a big channel, but still, Melody, like none of them signed up for the class. Look, the fact that nobody is watching us now maybe tells us something. How many people are actually spending time on the content that they subscribe for. You know, no, not that many. You're not going to make business and be a mother at the same time. You have to prioritize. And gosh, I wish more women prioritize to their children, their husbands, their families, rather than this chasing the cloud, the social media. Because this is just crazy. It's crazy. It totally dilutes them. It tells them, it gives them the false idea that they can do both. They can be whatever they want to be. They can uh, pursue their dreams and be a mother at the same time. Well, your husband is working hard to provide for you, and if it wasn't for your husband, you would have to work yourself, right? You wouldn't have time for the social media. You seriously wouldn't have time. And this is what I think with technologies, coming back to that point, when they simplified our lives so much, but they made it crazy for us. I think this applies here because we see definitely a lot of crazy women out there. They have a lot of time, a lot of free time. Look, they don't need to clean their house manually with their hands. Well, obviously, yeah, pressing the buttons, if you call it like manual. I guess, I don't know, but mm, they don't spend schools. Look at the school system. Yeah, it's like a daily care. You throw away your child there, the school is taking care for the child for you, so that you can go and sit in your office job, because most women prefer the soft specialties. They don't go into STEM. There are a few who do, but we've talked about them already. They choose HR, marketing, bookkeeping, something that gives them the flexibility, something that provides them with options that they can be kind of both, and oh, I'm that, and I'm also that, and I'm also economic, and and I'm showing off on social media how good and how great I am. Like, yeah, you are only good at this because you live with somebody who is providing for you, who is paying most of the bills in the household. You, with your business, you know, with your family business, how much money of that business covers the essential expenses, covers the kids expenses? Oh no, you still expect your husband to cover for those expenses. Then it tells me that you're not really a businesswoman, because you don't look at it, you don't perceive it as a business, you don't contribute from the business, to cover for some family expenses. No, whatever you make is yours, and whatever your husband makes is also yours. This is what
Yeah.
it is. Okay, and then they sacrifice their children, their husbands, for their dreams, for their careers. I wanted to do this thing entire life, and yes, I'm so proud of myself. I finally did it. Boom. Who is going to pay for it? Who is going to pay for your stupid dream later on? Your children, or even your
Well,
husband?
yeah, even just the idea of like you're saying, putting kids into a school, so it's basically, I guess free daycare if it's a public school, very expensive daycare if it's a private school, but yeah, you can't be an effective business person and, raise you're basically having others raise your kids for you
Yeah.
when they're spending, a good chunk of their waking hours during, the week anyway, being raised by an institution rather than, I mean, getting, back to like traditional female roles of like being the primary caregiver and like providing the education, but it's homeschooling or, back in the day of farming, it's like, maybe you didn't need to read too well, but, knowing, how to cook, how to maintain a homestead kind of, or, at least your little cottage that you live in. So,
Yeah. Then we have be proud of your decisions no matter what she does, and no matter how stupid and irrational those choices are. We've already talked about that, right? I'm just summarizing here, guys, because I want to move on. Then demand respect to be given to her just because she exists, just because she was born. This is a big one. Yeah, she's a superhero. Okay, what's here? Be Oh, be fat and lazy. Okay, I was because I see this slide, couldn't see it. Be fat and lazy. How many women are fat who are married? Yeah, I guess if you don't need to do any work, you can get fat really fast. And then if the husband doesn't fulfill her dreams and she's pursuing her, emotions and sensations, and I need more attention. Niagara Falls sex with a chat or a rapper. I actually saw the guys are using this jargon. So my also I talked to my husband. He brought up this story. There was a woman. She was in the party with her husband, and then her husband actually brought up the story. I don't know the specifics here, but they went to a concert. It was a rapper concert, and then the woman was wearing like very slinky dress and very sexy, barely covering her body. And then they were in the concert, and she was drooling over this rapper guy, who was playing the guitar or like singing. And then she told to her husband, "Oh, you can leave. I will catch up. I will come home by myself." And because he's a simping husband for his wife, he left, without even asking. And then a few days later, he was wondering where she was. He filed a missing person police report, you know. But then she showed up, okay. And then it turns out that she probably had sex, with this guy, the rapper that she was, simping for. So to say, women can't simp. Women simp too. It's just not for the simping men. you know. So, and then she was like, "Oh, it's kind of like none of your business. I wanted to do it, and she kind of did it." And look, if I did it to my husband, if I told I'm not coming back home with you, guess what would happen? He would say, okay, your luggage will be out the door, you know? You don't have to come back home at all.
You don't have to come home, but if you're gonna make that decision, like you're not coming, you're done. Like
I'm done, you know? I know the consequences to my bad behavior. Why do you think I'm ditching the guys who are approaching me? I'm like, no, I'm married, you know? I have a pretty good deal already. I don't want to, I don't need another man, you know? But yeah, when men, only strong rational men can do it, you know. Um they can maintain the framework, you know. They can tell women, no, you're not doing this. And it's not just by words, it's also by actions. Yeah, this is why Rollo mentioned, he keeps saying that you execute it, you know. You don't talk about it, you show by your behavior. Yeah. And women women will do what you let them do, you know. And it's just a brief reminder: who built the infrastructure we benefit from today? What were the roads before? What are the roads now? Then who built all this? What is women? Just directly answer the question, guys, you know. Well, I'm not saying that women were not involved. They were taking care of the households. They were helping men, you know. They were involved in this process, and they did way more work than modern women do nowadays.
Well, I think, yeah, just like the support, and also, I mean, going back to like child rearing and like raising, boys to be men who have, good work ethic, and who, aren't just, chasing stupid things. Like, they understand that you need to like add some value, and
Yeah.
you don't just like get all the glory by existing. So yeah, I mean, it does, women having a woman who's, raises her boys to be like strong men. But I mean, they also, like, women can't do it by themselves, because they really can't appropriately model like desirable male behavior. Those kids also need, a very good like male role model, like,
Oh yeah.
consistently, or they're just, yeah, they're not going to grow up to be people who are going to, go into the things that kind of keep the world running and stuff. They can just as easily become, basically just kind of leeches on society, and like, instead of contributing, just kind of like taking what they can.
Taking, yeah, squeezing out all the juices and not producing any value. This is where I challenged that subscriber who unsubscribed, and she left me that the content that we were doing here is confusing. And then she told me that I appeared to be narcissistic and blah 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 when I presented feminism in a nutshell. And I told you, okay, you've been subscribed for such a long time. I haven't heard from you, neither from email, neither by filling out stay in touch form. And then, what's your value? So I challenged the objective value that she brings, you know, to my channel. And she told me, I don't owe you any value, which really told me that there are a lot of women like her out there who think that they can only take for themselves, but they don't need to pay back. I believe in a fair exchange, guys, and I mentioned it to you before. If you get value from somebody, you should pay back. You can pay back not in the same manner, but there should be uh, something that you produce. If you don't produce anything, if you just take, you are an entitled human being that nobody will want to deal with you, especially when the world falls apart. This, or women, for the most part, I would say that they tend to be like older women who have been living in this delusion longer. It doesn't matter what you tell them, what arguments you bring up to them. They tend to be, mm, they are so absorbed by the idea that they can't even challenge themselves. I'm not saying like all the women are like that. I just saw, in my experience, it's been my experience, that a lot more younger women start waking up to this. because it doesn't work out. They realize if they are smart women, I would love to see more rational women out there, who are saying, oh, something doesn't click here, something doesn't match. The reality is not what I was promised, and then they start waking up. These are the women that I would like to see, because this is going to help them to make better choices, and it's going to help the society later on, but the older women, like a lot of them, I'm not saying all, there are some exceptions out there, but they are very entitled. They are only concerned about themselves. They are like, okay, I will be out of here soon enough, out of this world. And like, yeah, what kind of world do you leave behind yourself? How do you want people to remember you? As an entitled bitch, or as a woman who was actually producing some value for the society? I already produce value because I exist here. Well,
Yeah.
too bad. Other people see, your idea, and this is what I keep saying to women, your idea of yourself, what kind of value you are doing there, you're producing, is irrelevant. Other people determine your value. The main,
Really.
the fact that if you are not married, Melody, not talking about you here, but in general, if you are not married and you think that you are a 10, you are not a 10. Well, in your mind you are a 10, but objectively, um men are not going to buy you. It's like a house. What's the value for the house? Market. What just say sexual market value for the house? The market value for the house. Currently, you
Right.
own a
Like
house.
a house doesn't, I mean, if it's had trees fall on it and the roof's, gone. I mean, if the house could have feelings, maybe the house would be like, but I'm still valuable. I'm still a dwelling. But as no one's going to want to pay as much for you as they do for, the brand new build with the nice landscaping and the new roof and the swimming pool in the backyard or whatever.
Well, exactly. And even then, even for that beautiful house, the value can still be overestimated because the seller will always want more money for himself, right? To get out of the house. The market determines the house. So if you put your house on the market now, the the market value for the house is 0 because you didn't liquidate it yet. You can only say that, yeah, the value for the house is this when you sell it, when you cash,
Right. And you can
when you.
put like whatever price tag on it you want, but like you said, it's the market that determines the value. And if you might think that your house is wonderful and that it's worth $1 million,
Mhm,
but ultimately you're not the one who determines that. And like, yeah, like you're
exactly.
saying, until it's liquidated, it has no value. And unless you are realistic about its value to other people, not its value to you, there's going to be a conflict between reality and your opinions, and it's not going to sell for what you obviously. I'm sure everyone who's selling a house like hopes that it sells for
More
five
than this.
times the amount that it should, but that your hopes don't determine the actual market value.
Exactly. And this applies to women too. Yes, I'm sorry to bring this example to you guys. I know it's like you're like a house, but seriously, when you have this high overestimated value of yourself, you have to be realistic. Who is willing to pay that much for you? You know, if nobody is out there to pay, maybe you are not a 10. Maybe you are not an 8. Maybe you are not even a 7. Maybe you're just a 5. Just an average woman out there. And this is where women don't want to, they're really having trouble understanding it. They believe that they are the best because the world has told them, the society has told them that they are the best. I'm like, yeah, blame the society, go blame the movies that you've been watching. Go blame, the people that who were telling you this bullshit, you know? The facts are the facts. They don't care whether you like them or not. They just are. You either admit it and move on, make rational choices based on the facts, preferably, yes, not emotions. But yeah, don't blame the facts. And then who is doing all the hard work today, guys? Who is fixing, doing the heavy lifting jobs? Melody, you are exception. I keep saying that. but like farming, where do you think the animals are coming from, the food is coming from? Yeah, the hard work. Who is doing it? Who is a plumber today? Tell
Well,
me,
most
tell me.
women, like, have, they're fine eating meat, but it is a very, very rare woman that, would have the stomach, or, to even walk into a slaughterhouse. And there's a huge, like, cognitive disconnect there, which, I think is saying something, and it's not really in our nature, because a tiger is not, disturbed by extreme circumstances of abuse, like the way that a human would. Um, and, that's something that, even like men, it's almost of a society thing, that it's like they're expected to not show any like weakness or sadness, or, anything like that. And so they get over it a little easier. But yeah, it's true that there's very few. And yeah, and then I think in terms of like, construction and stuff, I mean, there's just, women typically don't have the strength, like the physical strength to do a lot of it. Even when I was a framer, it's like I was really good at math and precision cutting, and like, I can pull full sheets of plywood up onto the roof, but I mean, yeah, there were a lot of things that I just simply could not do physically.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'd always, I'd get as far as I could, and then I'd be, calling up the boys like, okay, walls are all put together. I need, at least a couple of you to come out and help me stand them up,
Yeah.
But yeah, there's things that even if I had, like 10 of my female friends, we would not be as effective at doing some of those things as, me and 3 or 4 dudes.
Exactly.
So.
Then again, traditional women had a lot of duties, which we've talked about already, right? They were showing the role model to their daughters, to their sons. Also, how would a son pick the appropriate wife for himself later on, based on what he saw in the family, in his family? If a son sees the relationship, and it affects daughters too, depending what the relationships are in the family, they can determine your son's or your daughter's future. If you don't have distinguished role models, and you do a very bad job, and you have a overpowering woman over there who is ruling, and she's going to show her daughters, yeah, do the same thing and you'll get what I got. And the man, this is your job as a man, to be a sucker, basically. You will be the submissive to a woman, because it is what it is. And a lot of men, as I say, even older men, we are all in it. It's been for such a long time here. You have to effectively fight it. You have to go against every single point that it represents, in order to be able to still preserve the traditional values to some degree, and traditional gender roles that were portrayed earlier, because we have eliminated them from the mass media. They are not out there. You might find the individual bloggers who are talking about it, and effectively you can still find the old movies. I'm not saying the information is not there. It's just going to be really hard for women to find it, and for men too, because men have been feminized. If they see the superior mother, what this mother is telling them, yeah, you will be the submissive man, because you will find this strong woman as I am, and a lot of damage is going to happen. So yeah. And then modern women nowadays, here you go, look at this, how many duties she has. She has to do her fake nails. I see them a lot on social media. Oh, like
Really something.
Yeah, working mother with a working daughter on social media, cute pictures, empowerment, strong independent woman, she is a business owner. So cool. Then semi-naked girl on social media, we've seen it, surrounded by technologies and phones, and yeah, in the nightclubs. And Gosh, I don't want to dive into this topic. There was a discussion whether women in the strip clubs are considered to be prostitutes or not. And I know it's a pretty rough topic, guys. Tell us what you think about it. I think that you already know my extent of, considering women a slut or a prostitute. She puts herself naked or semi-naked on social media. She is that for me, So yeah, I guess you could call that if a woman goes to the nightclub, she's working there. She what if it's the only way how she can pay the bills? The fact that she chose to do this work instead of getting married, she wouldn't have to do this job if she chose to be with a man. The problem, see, with this activities that we've industrialized for women to do, that women were doing before, because they had to, in order to survive, in order to help, right, to make society better. Now we've industrialized all of these activities: cooking, cleaning, what else, taking care of children, providing sexual pleasures. Strip club is providing sexual pleasures for men for money. All of these activities that I've just listed, you can do them for money. You don't need men to survive. You see the problem here? So yeah, I would consider a girl who works in a strip club a slut, depending on like what she does, but generally, yeah. And then body positivity scam. We've talked about it with Melody so many times. Guys, go check out our other videos out here. You're so beautiful, you're so yeah, the fat is like showing off literally from every single cell out of there, and you are still an amazing human being. You have no heart disease, your bones are in a perfect health, and etc. Like how go watch the biology part, and what it is to be healthy, really. Yeah. Body positivity scam is huge in fitness, especially. We keep saying to women, oh, you are this best human being, you are so beautiful, so unhealthy. Well, listen to what we are actually saying here, Melody. I'm going to finish, I promise. You are so beautiful, you are so unhealthy, but you are so beautiful.
Yeah, I guess beauty isn't like yeah, there are some like objectively, kind of, there's the norm, but I mean, there's always going to be like, fetishes and stuff. And like men who genuinely think that obesity is, but again, that's, and science, like that it's a whole nother sphere of like psychology and stuff. But I mean, that could be, the way I see it, like a very unhealthy form of like kind of male domination. It's like, I want you to be like, yeah, basically unhealthy, have shorter lives or shorter healthy lifespan, and that's the thing. Like, yeah, you can be super overweight and like have your blood panels be fine and stuff, but yeah, it's just, there's too much data at this point, and you're not going to be able to maintain that for as long as someone who's not carrying around a whole bunch of extra weight.
Yeah, it's
like, being overweight and feeling healthy in your 20s, 30s, even early 40s, like, okay, but you're doing like serious damage that will have effects in the later part of your life,
Definitely. Carrying that much weight is not good. It's not healthy for your joints. You are going to have a lot of health issues. That's for sure.
Right. And then you're either, not able to be a strong, independent woman, or you're, pushing the burden of that, financially, and, sometimes even in terms of just maintaining the house onto, the husband or your male partner who, you can't get up and do the
well
thing.
But this is why we have the government, and this is why we have men who, gosh, if men marry, a woman is done. She's not going to work on herself. And this is what I mean, how serious it is, guys. You are not allowed to cheat, because the moment you cheat and find another woman to just motivate, or even if you don't cheat, but if a woman knows that you can, you are not allowed to do that, because guess what? The government will come and it will fix it for her. You will still pay her the alimony. You will still pay her, half of what you own. in most states, you know. And then you are stuck with the unhealthy woman.
Mhm.
And you have to pay for your medical bills also. You see like, oh my goodness. If we mandated the DNA test, if we made it possible for men to test their paternity, it would actually be helpful. You know, it would tell women that, look, you can't just fuck around. You have to be mindful whom you sleep with, you know, because and then the law would come out and say, if the child is not yours, you're not liable, you're not responsible for this child. You know, this will give men some protection, because then they wouldn't have to take responsibility for the kid that is not theirs. A lot of women bear children that are not biologically their husband's children. There is a statistics on that. I refer you to check out Rollo's videos, guys. I'm not going to bring up the statistics for you here. It's out there. You can actually, do more research and find out. Uh, yeah, this would be helpful. And then it would also tell women that, look, you would need to do better than, just spreading your legs and popping up a keto, and then, because the government is fixing a lot of things for women now. Women don't need to work, because they don't even need to maintain the relationship with their husbands. The government does it for them. We put the government between men and women, and we expect it to work somehow. Like the government knows best, right? What is good for the relationship between men and women, and we see a lot of damage. And men check out. Men don't want to deal with women now. You know, this
Yeah,
is.
you definitely do see a lot of that.
And then, final question to you guys: what women do you prefer, and what women bring more value to the society? Yeah, interesting conversation today, Melody. I really loved it. I wish we had more people joining us, but yeah, maybe guys, if you are showing up for the replay, let us know. Okay, let us know what you think about the topics. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And where do you agree? Where do you disagree? Your feedback is always helpful. Yeah, and we look forward to seeing more women working out, joining us for the live workouts. And
Women and men. Men are welcome to work out too.
men are too, yeah. Yeah, and in fact, I've seen a lot more men joining. I made another video of where I was saying that I see a lot more men joining us, and I honestly, I love to work with both. When I see that a woman wants to improve, I want to help that woman.
Mm.
you know but when I see that she's just entitled piece of shit, let's say, and she doesn't want to work on herself, and she thinks that she's old and she deserves this and that, I have no desire to help that kind of woman. I have no desire. Same applies to men. Like, if men want to improve, if men but for the most part, men are more down to earth. They are more willing to accept the reality because it kicks into their teeth, and other men around are telling them, look, you suck, you should improve, you should get better. And I think women should have the same kind of attitude towards each other. Not take it personally, but if somebody can really get better at something, just take it. Yeah, you're probably right. I probably can be better. I probably can do better.
Well,
It's
yeah, and
fine.
you're not doing anyone any favors. Yeah, like when you're saying, with if there is room for improvement, you're not helping by being like, oh no, it's just fine the way it is. Even if
Yeah.
yeah, whether it's a matter of health or just I don't know, something like keeping a place tidier or whatever it is. If you're like, oh no, it's fine, like you can just leave out the dirty food, like the mice will come by and eat it and clean it up. Like
Yeah.
it's no, they're gonna end up getting like just living in squalor and getting diseases and stuff. So yeah, and I guess sometimes it can be hard, like hearing like, yeah, you can change this and you should. But yeah, it's if someone's making a suggestion that like it's objectively going to make things better for you personally and or society as a whole, that's I mean really that's kindness, you know.
Yeah.
So but yeah, it's often taken as like, you know, a personal attack, which is unfortunate. It's just, yeah, kind of the way things are, it seems.
You just you know, tell it to people. If people are willing to listen, if people are ready to, you know, challenge themselves, they have room for improvement. They can do better, you know. But if people are closed down in their belief system, it's almost like no matter what you tell them, they are going to be wound up in their belief system, and um it's going to suck for them. The reality will always kick in, guys. It's either sooner or later we are headed that way. Just start embracing it and accepting it, and taking the actions that are based on facts rather than what you believe, what you want it to be. Because
Right.
when
You
you
can't ignore reality. You can, you know, have your own opinions, but if they're not in line with reality, they're going to hurt you in the end.
yeah,
So,
yeah, and we have a lot of discussions about this topic. If you'd like to cover specific topic and show up here on stage with us, reach out. We will be happy to see you. Send us an email. Be specific, okay? What kind of topic you'd like to cover, because we'll need to do some homework and some research, maybe. Yeah, like we usually do. And yeah, bringing awareness is a very hard work, especially if you're fighting the trends, you know, the common things that are happening in the society, the things that are contradicting. There is definitely value in it, but not everybody is going to see it that way, and it's okay. You know, it's okay as long as we are doing the job, as long as we are contributing. And I think that a lot of fitness instructors could contribute too by raising more awareness. And we gave the good examples of decent content that you could share with your target audience if you are interested in improving the content, in improving the message. But again, it depends on your belief system. If you believe that you are entitled, if you believe in feminism, even if you don't call yourself a feminist, but if you believe in this idea that everybody is the same, everybody is equal, people are just loving and blah blah blah, we should support each other and uh, you know, be perfect as we are, basically. Yeah, you're not going to deliver the message. You know, I see the potential in a lot of instructors, but because they are not willing to challenge themselves, they're not going to deliver the message to others, you know, because they want to believe that bullshit that everybody else is telling them, you know, and they are feeding off it. They are getting more likes, they're getting more recognition, they are getting more popularity. They are more concerned about themselves. They are very self-focused, you know, they don't actually care. So that girl, it was like almost like insulting what she told me. You know, she told me that, oh, you are just chasing the cloud, you know. I'm like, seriously, like, you believe I chase the cloud? How many people are watching us now? Zero. How many people join us for classes? Not so many. Okay, do and I still keep doing what I'm doing, you know, because I want to bring more awareness. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I could make more clout in other ways if I put myself naked out there on social media, and if I told you, yeah, follow your heart, follow your dreams, what you wanted to hear, maybe I could get the clout that way, you know. Like, no, you are raising these controversial discussions and you are chasing the cloud. I want people to be more aware. You know, I want
yeah,
people
and
to be more
typically, like,
rational.
yeah, bringing up stuff that isn't like hugely popular is not, and like, just if it's a constellation, like, you're not alone in the whole. I was meeting up with a gal from the library the other day because I'm gonna do some classes and stuff there, kind of a series next summer. So we're just talking planning for that. But yeah, she's talking about like what location, because they just opened like a new location, and it's like I've been to a few different like presentation stuff there, and there's hardly ever anyone there. Maybe 3 to 5 people. Whereas at some of the other locations, there'll be 50, 60. I mean, I've been to presentations where it's like, they've got 100 chairs set up and they're having to bring in more. And yeah, we both noticed that like the only class that's been held there so far that's gotten like a big audience was this one on like intuitive eating, which is the whole like your body knows what you want, and so just eat whatever you feel like and don't be concerned about the
feels before reals. What gives you most clout out there?
But yeah, it's like, so even like, the public library system, if they host a class on like, safe movement and like joint mobility and stuff, and it's like, you're going to be sitting there and like learning that you should do all these different exercises for 30 minutes a day. No one wants to come, but then it's like, there's this announcement that there's going to be some class that like, oh, we can learn that like, yeah, we can basically like, it's good to just do whatever you feel like and not try to exercise any self-control. It's like everyone's just 100% on board. Like, so yeah, it's definitely, you're not the only one that has that experience of like, people they're just more interested in like hearing what they want to hear and like what already kind of is in line with their hopes and dreams or whatever for like what they want reality to be. And like, yeah, I guess I would love it if like jelly beans gave me ultimate health and like, fitness, but I know that they don't. And that's not to say that I never eat jelly beans, but I don't eat them on a daily or even weekly basis,
True.
But, according to the intuitive eating approach, it's like, well, if my body's craving jelly beans, I must just need some, some glucose to energize me. So it's like, yeah, okay, I can get that from barley or oatmeal or, some grapefruits, like, and those are things that are not jelly beans that really don't have health benefits. I mean, unless you're like actually starving, in which case I suppose any food would keep you from dying. But, yeah.
Yeah,
it's not the case in America.
It speaks to their agenda. It tells them what they want to hear, and look, you can do whatever you want to do. Appeals to that, right? You can eat whatever you want, but okay, there are consequences to whatever you want. Always. You're going to pay for them later. It's like, if you can't fit in the door, this is the possible consequences, of you eating whatever you want, guys. You are going to have a heart failure, maybe, just because you are eating a lot of sugar out there, You're going to have a lot of health issues just because you're eating whatever you want. Just because you're doing whatever you want, you're going to have other issues out there.
And the consequences might not be immediate, especially in things with terms like diet. There's a lot of things that it literally takes decades to manifest.
It does take time, yeah.
And yeah, there's a chance maybe you'll die of some accident or some other natural cause before that disease has a chance to actually manifest itself. But it's, even things like kidney disease, I forget the exact statistics, but like if you live to 70, the vast majority of Americans anyway have pretty severely impaired kidney function. But the thing is, you're not going to get any symptoms until you're literally down to like a third of your function. So you can be operating at 50% for, decades. And unless you're going in and getting tested, it's the same thing with, cholesterol levels. With that, since it's such a slow over time thing, you can start building up blockages and your body's going to adapt and make all these little like blood vessel routes around that, but that plaque is still building up. And, if at some point, a bit of that breaks free and makes its way to your brain, like, cool, you got a stroke, or, makes its way to your heart and you got a heart attack. So yeah, again, it's, I think sometimes when we see those immediate effects, it's like, oh, you touch a hot stove, you're going to burn your hand. Okay, you're probably not going to do that again. But it's like when, the consequences take a long
almost
time.
never right away. It doesn't
Right.
happen immediately. All of these baby steps that we do, they contribute to either our health and well-being, or they damage us.
Yeah,
And
everything has an effect somewhere, somehow. And
yeah. And in
even if
your
it's
life
not immediate.
choices, in your especially for women, it's essential to make the right choice and meet the right man to marry, to settle. It's probably one of the most important decisions in her life that she's going to make. And so many women just throw it down the drain and choose to, you know, experiment and do crazy things with it, fuck around. And yeah, it's something that women were taught before, from mother to daughter, and now it's been eliminated. There are a few traditional women out there, but again, very hard to find, guys. So yeah, we are going to wrap it up here, guys. If you again, if you find this content valuable, if you've learned something from us, please give us a like. It helps us a lot with the algorithm, and we appreciate your feedback and your support. Tell us what you think, okay, in the comments. Always happy to hear from you. And these topics need to be debated. These topics need more attention. So we would love to hear from you. And yeah, join us for the workouts, for interesting discussions that we are running here with Melody, and soon Piquet will join us again, hopefully. Yeah. And let's stay fit and healthy. Okay. Challenge your belief system, guys. Thank you so much, Melody. Amazing discussion.
Yeah,
I
thank
love
you.
it.
It was really, good talk. Interesting stuff for sure. Tons to talk about.
See you soon, guys. Bye.